Hey everyone, I am Elizabeth Head and I work with Southside Realtors. So this video is going to be for my home buyer's guide. So I'm going to go through the entire home buying process. I'm not going to get into every single detail because we would be here forever, and quite frankly, you're not going to watch it the whole ways anyway. So I'm going to hit on the big points, but if you ever have a question, feel free to reach out to me. My goal is just to simply educate my clients. When I first bought my house, I was 22 years old. And it was kind of a daze, there was so much going on and I really didn't understand it. I do remember my father-in-law taking me to deliver the earnest money, and it was $1,000, I think it was. And at that time, that was just a ton of money, and it still is, but more so when you're 22. And so I just remembered I was so scared to write that check. I think it was the biggest check I had ever written at that point. So, everything worked out fine, but I was scared I was going to lose that money. And but luckily everything was, good with it, and that's it. So my goal when I started real estate was I want to make sure that I can make the experience as pleasant as possible. It's not always going to be sunshine and rainbows, but my goal is to certainly help and educate and help my clients reach their goals. So anyways, I'm going to share my screen. I hope I can do this with you, and it's my home buyer guide, and we're going to go through it really quick, and that's it. So hold on one second. I'm going to share, and it says share the desktop. All right, hold on. Oh, look at me, I did it. Yay. Okay, so this is our home buyer's guide. And so we're going to start with the very first thing, why you should hire a realtor. Well, first of all, a realtor for a buyer is at no cost. So I am paid from the seller's proceeds at closing. So there is no cost to you to use me. And by the way, I talk a lot with my hands, so there you go. Another reason, so the paperwork, the experience, this is what we do all day, every day. And if you're not in the business and don't do this every day, you're going to be confused. There's lots of details and just little things to remember. With negotiations, when you're, negotiating for a house, whether you're, selling or buying, it's an emotional experience. You may be dealing with a seller who has just lost her husband, or you may be dealing with a buyer who's going through a divorce. I mean, this is a sensitive time, and negotiations, emotions run high during negotiations. It happens, and you've got to be attentive to that. Pricing and market conditions, you've got to understand what's going on, because if you're really serious about buying a home and you're out here throwing lowball offers out, then that's not quite going to get you to your goal. So you want to be educated on what's going on in the market, what you can expect through the process. And so that's why we're here. So I'm going to cruise on down here. So step 2, pre-approval. So there's two terms here, pre-qualification and pre-approval. Pre-qualification is simply that the lender has run your credit and you told them that you make X amount of dollars a year, here's where you work, and here's any debts and assets that you have. Pre-approval is where the lender has actually seen your documents, and that's where I want my clients to be before we go start shopping for houses. I want the lender to go through all of your financial picture to see that you definitely make the income that you said, because sometimes it can get a little confusing. So I want him to make sure that everything is good before we get you out there under contract on a home, as well as spending money on inspections and appraisals when we missed a spot at step 1. So that's a really big deal to me. And I really, I work with some great lenders who I can certainly refer you to, but you really need a lender who will dive in and walk you through this process, other than just handing you a piece of paper from an internet thing and saying, hey, you're qualified for $500,000, have fun, because that's not how it works. I know that there's some mortgage companies out there that can give you a pre-qualification, or a pre-approval in 5 minutes, and that is a lie. So if they can figure out your financial picture from just sitting in front of a screen, so be it, but it's usually not the case. So documents that you can expect to be asked for, or past 2 years tax returns, past few months bank statements, paycheck stubs. You're going to have to do a verification of employment. So just start gathering all of that. If there's anything negative, you need to go ahead and be honest. If if you had a foreclosure in the past several years, or a bankruptcy, or you're going through a divorce, student loans, we need to know this up front, because we're here to protect you. Trying to hide it, it will come out down the road. So you want to make sure that we get this out at the beginning. So Different loan programs. So, depending on what your financial picture is, certain loan programs may or may not work for you. And we certainly want to get you in the best one that's going to benefit you and your family the most. I get asked a lot about down payment assistance. There are programs out there that do help buyers with down payment assistance. And so they can certainly, give you that information. All right. Let's see, how much can you afford and key facts to consider? So the down payment, interest rate, debt to income ratio, and closing costs associated with the transaction. These are things to take into consideration. So you may, be able to get pre-qualified for $300,000, but guess what? You may not like that payment at $300,000. So our goal before we get you out there looking at homes is finding out where your comfort zone is. So your comfort zone may be, 200,000, and depending on where the interest rates fall. Right now they're very low, and they may go up soon. Who knows? But interest rates play a big part on your monthly payment. So if interest rates go up, what you can afford usually goes down. So again, when interest rates are low, it's really good time to take advantage of that, and that is right now. So let's continue on. So we talked about why pre-approval should be your first step. So again, pre-qualification is the actual first step, but I want to get you into pre-approval before we get you out there searching for homes. That just avoids a lot of pain at the end. So after we get your pre-approval done, at that point is the fun part. We can go out and shop for homes. So what I need to know is where you want to go. Is there anything specific in the property that you want? Is there a certain school district? I just need to know all that. So, and anything you don't want. So that is what I need from you there. And sometimes, we have all the properties listed in the MLS, but there's also, coming soon properties, and there's also properties, what we call pocket listings, that our agent friends have coming up that we may know about. And, we can certainly get you in there before it ever hits the market. So great opportunities there. So, all right. So talking about negotiating your terms with confidence. So once we find that perfect home, we have to get it going. So especially, under certain price points, there's still multiple offers going on. And so what we want to do is create a winning offer for you. And so that's when we have to say, okay, are we going to offer full price? Are we going to ask for a lot of seller concessions? My goal with, multiple offers is to make your offer as aggressive as possible. The way that I do that is, sometimes it requires going above list price to, account for some of the seller concessions that you need. Making all of our contingency periods very aggressive, an inspection period of 5 days, that's very quick, but it can certainly be done. In multiple offer situations, sometimes you want to write a letter to the seller saying, why this house would be great for you, just kind of giving more of a personal tone to it. If you can do an increase in earnest money deposit, that's certainly more aggressive as well. And this is stuff that I'm going to walk you through when we get to this point, but I just kind of want you to be thinking about that right now. And again, having your pre-approval on hand is step number one, because sending in an offer without a pre-approval or a proof of funds means nothing, because the seller doesn't see where you can buy this property. So want to certainly negotiate with the most confidence that we can. So let's see here. All right, so once we go under contract, our first step, besides the earnest money deposit, is going to be the inspection. You have the opportunity to use anybody you want for a home inspector. I certainly have some great referrals that are very well known around our area, but what I would love for you to do is attend this home inspection with the home inspector, because he can answer a ton of questions about the workings of things that I can't. That's not my forte. So I want you there so you can see that because we're going to get a big report usually within 24 hours. And don't be scared. It's usually going to be, a pretty lengthy thing, but they're finding everything wrong with the property. Our goal is to find out what are the major things. Is the plumbing working, electrical, HVAC? How old is the roof? Are there any roof leaks? Excuse me. So that's what we're looking for. The, chip paint on the banister, that's not what we're looking for. You knew that going into this. If you're buying a resale home, there are going to be issues. And so I want to set you up for, winning, because I don't want you to think that when we get this report, oh, the seller has to fix the entire thing. That's not it, and that's likely not going to get you where you want to be. You need to look at the bigger picture here. And so some of these items are, for your information that you can do later on down the road. Now, if it's a big thing, a structural issue, that's a different story. And so we certainly, have to deal with that as it comes. But when you're doing a home inspection, you're really looking for those bigger ticket items to make sure everything big is working. So just keep that in mind. Home inspections are great and wonderful, and it, kind of a project thing for down the road, but you definitely need to make sure your major systems are working and in place. When we do go through the home inspection, after that, we can ask the seller to repair. So say the HVAC isn't working, so we can ask the seller to repair that. Now, they have here's their options. Once we submit a repair list to them, the seller can say, okay, I'll do all of it, or I'll give you a concession for all of it, or I'll do some of it and give you a concession for some of it, or I'm not going to do any of it. At that point, then you decide if the stuff that we ask for is major enough for you to break the contract. And you have that option during that inspection period, and you can get your earnest money back. You won't be able to get your home inspection money back, but you can get your earnest money back. And so that's when we kind of have to decide, okay, if the HVAC is working but needed to be serviced and the seller doesn't want to service it, could you pay the money to service it prior to closing to make sure it's in working order? So there's certainly, different avenues there, but, you want a big picture this. So again, if it's something huge like a structural problem, that's a different story. And that's, if the seller wouldn't fix that, that's likely a termination issue. So, but again, I will walk you through this entire thing. But the biggest thing to remember about home inspections is we're looking for big ticket items. It's the major systems in the house working. So, step 6, submit the loan to the lender. So right after we go under contract, I will send your contract to both the closing attorney as well as the lender so they can get started. And you'll do a bunch of paperwork on his end and, do official loan application and all that good stuff. And just kind of, give you a heads up. It's, it's a lengthy process. And, when people are digging into your financial picture, you're probably going to get annoyed sometimes, and just know that's part of it. But the end result, I promise you, is going to be great. So, I've done it twice now. And, even with my lender being one of my best friends, I, got really agitated with him asking me for so many documents, but that's just part of it. So you just suck it up and move on. All right, step 7, appraisal. So this is the fun part. So when the lender gets the contract, you and I are going to be doing the inspection. Once we get past that, the lender is going to order the appraisal. The appraiser is going to go out to the property. You do not have to be there. He will do his thing, and he's going to generate a report. And this is the lender's verification that the property is worth what the listing agent and the selling agent are saying it's worth. If the appraisal comes in at value with no repairs, great, we're going to move towards closing. If the appraisal comes in under value, then we have an issue. So at that point, what we try to do is submit comparables to the appraiser to say, hey, this is what we used. Why could you not use this to get that value? Okay, he may or may not change it. It depends. There's so many different situations there. But if he doesn't change his value, he's going to submit it in. And at that point, we have to kind of go back to the drawing board with the seller. Can the seller reduce? Could you meet him in the middle, or, are we done with it? It's going to depend. If it's a huge amount, typically not, especially in our market. In markets with higher price points, that's a different story. But, in our market, $20,000 could really break somebody. So that's probably not going to work. But if it's a couple thousand, usually, the seller can reduce some, the buyer may bring a little bit more, just depends. So that's how that works. And then once the appraisal is done, then your file should be headed to the underwriter to be reviewed. And then the underwriter is going to kick it back out, and they're likely going to have conditions. So it'll be approved, conditionally approved. And so you may have to submit more bank statements. You may have to write a letter about why you, did such and such the other day. I mean, it can get a little bit intrusive, but again, the goal is worth it. So once we get your file back out of underwriting and we get the clear to close, which is my 3 favorite words I love to hear, then we head to closing. So closing day, what we'll do is do a walkthrough of the property before closing. So just make sure the property is in the same condition as that you saw it the first time. You will have already gotten the homeowner's insurance. The attorney will have already done title work. You'll have title insurance. And then for closing, you will bring 2 forms of ID. One, is a driver's license, picture ID, and the other can be, a gun permit if you want. It's just got to have your name on it. And you'll receive all your documents that you sign. You're actually going to have to sign all your financial documents again. It's tons of fun, but at the end, you will now be a homeowner. So that's at a glance what the home buying process is. Again, I'm going to walk you through this entire process and always be there to tell you, okay, this is done. Here's what to expect next. And that's what I want to do. This is what to do, because I want you to ask me all the questions in the world, because I want to make sure you're educated, but I always want you to know what to expect next. So closings are being done a little differently right now. Sometimes I'm allowed in the room, sometimes not. Buyer and seller are definitely in a different room, and just because of the virus and everything going on. So we're working through this, but luckily nothing shut down, and we're still moving forward with everything. So anyways, I hope this video was helpful. Again, if you're thinking about buying in the next near future or in several years, let me know. I'd love to help get you on a plan to get you to that point in the process. So anyways, y'all have a great day, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye.